Ho, Billy Ho here, coming at you with a stakes preview. We are going to cover the G1 Grade 1 Haskell Stakes worth $1 million this Saturday at Monmouth Park. This is just kind of a contenders video. We don't have the official entries yet, but we got 9 really strong contenders, and I'm going to talk about all 9 of them. We're going to go over them. They're the 3-year-olds you've seen all season on the Derby Trail, some new shooters, and some coming off layoff and all that kind of good stuff. So we are going to save the best for last, so stick around for that. Before we get started, a few quick announcements. So on this same Haskell card, we have a Grade 1 United Nations, Grade 3 Monmouth Cup, also WinStar Matchmaker, and then a Molly Cup, which I am going to cover all those in another video. So set your notification bell for that. In addition, I have coverage of the American Oaks coming up at Saratoga this weekend as well. Lastly, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. I know many of you have. Thank you for all the support over the months. And we're almost to 1,000 subs, so let's get us there. Smash the like, leave a comment, and let's get started. The Grade 1 Haskell will go 1 1/8 at Monmouth Park for 3-year-olds and a strong field. Like I said, we're going to jump right into it. The first horse we're going to look at is Arabian Night, trained by Bob Baffert. He has not run since late January at the Grade 3 Southwest Stakes, which he won handily. The connections, he's got a ton of speed. We're going to watch the race right now. A ton of speed. He sets the pace, controls the pace, then puts away all challengers down the stretch. Now, if you see down the stretch, he has that kind of wonky looking paddling stride, what they call it. And I did a little research on it, but it's not anything like major. It's just puts a little more stress on the legs there. But it's not great, but you can't argue the result. So anyway, the connections didn't like what they were seeing during his early training. So they decided to put him on the shelf for 11 weeks and allow him to develop a little more. But he returned to the track at the end of May to begin his workout regimen. And he's got 8 workouts. They running at 6 and 7 furlongs all. He had 3 straight 7 furlong workouts recently. Here's a snippet from the June 24th workout at Santa Anita. So he's looking pretty good. You know, he still kind of has that little paddling style, but that's okay. But he's going to be a very good contender in this race, but I'm not sure quite what to expect after being off this long. He hasn't raced since the end of January, so that's several months. So I expect it'll take him a couple races to get his legs going again. So anyway, Extra Anejo is the next horse. He's trained by Steve Asmussen, 1 for 2 this year in $100,000 allowance company. He broke poorly in his debut at Churchill Downs. He ran on Derby Day, but he did mount a good closing effort to get the place. He ran second in that race. So improving every race, but I'm not seeing him, in this group of more elite 3-year-olds just yet. So maybe he'll prove me wrong, but I'm not there yet. Now, How Great is Nate is the next one. And How Great is Nate did not get off to the best start in 2023. After an undefeated 2-year-old campaign, he basically face planted out of the gate in the Gotham Stakes and then lost his jockey. So that was just it for him. But then they came back 2 weeks later with him and a much better effort in the Private Terms Stakes at Laurel. He finished closing 3rd in that one. And then ran in the Pegasus after that. Both of those races were at the Monmouth. So horse for course type kind of thing. He ran, I believe, he ran 3rd in the Pegasus. He is the 7 horse. We're going to watch it right now because there's 3 horses. The next 3 I talk about are all in this Pegasus race. So we're just going to kind of cycle through that a couple of times. How Great is Nate? Trained by Elizabeth Douglas and looking good. That same race, actually, our next horse is Subrogate, and he went ahead Actually, he went head to head with Kingsbarns in this race, and they were both on the lead the whole way. And Subrogate was right there with him all the way into the stretch where he finally gave away and then to finish fourth. But really, I think maybe that effort cost Kingsbarns the race. But it wasn't like he wore him out. It's just Kingsbarns just got caught in the end by the next horse we'll talk about in a second. So Subrogate, trained by Jorge Duarte. This leads me right into the winner of the race, which was the 4 horse. As you can see, when we come back around to it, he closes to catch the 2 leaders. Salute the Stars. He got off to a bit of a rocky start in that race, but he settled in 4th early on. So anyway, later on in the race, as they get into the stretch drive, while Kingsbarns is grinding past Subrogate, Salute the Stars is the Brad Cox trained horse, son of Candy Ride, is finally gets his good foot late in the race, and he runs down the leaders at the wire. Now this one here, I felt like Subrogate, that was a peak performance for him, and maybe not be able to reproduce that, but I don't feel the same about Salute the Stars. I feel like he could move forward, and if he does make a jump forward enough, he could be in the mix to win this race. So I'm going to keep my eye on that. Next up, Go Rocket Ride is Richard Mandela's horse, entering his second race off the 3-month layoff after he ran second in the San Felipe Stakes. So if you remember back to the Derby Trail, Go Rocket Ride ran second in the San Felipe. Then he was slated to be in the Santa Anita Derby, but came down with an illness, had to miss. Then he had to take some time off. So in his first race back was the Affirmed Stakes at Santa Anita, put in a workman type effort, chasing a really hot early pace. We're looking at it now. And he comes in and he just sits off the 2 rabbits out there at third, and then just waits for them to ease up a little bit. And then by the turn, he just takes over the race and smokes them. So that was just really kind of a good race to get him kind of going again. And I think he'll be definitely eligible to improve off that for sure. Now he might end up being the Wise Guy horse, because I've heard a little bit of chatter about him in the last week or so. So keep an eye on that. And coming out of Santa Anita, that's just kind of how it is with those guys. So the next up is Arabian Lion, another good looking Bob Baffert trained horse. He's got back-to-back wins after losing a close one in the Lexington Stakes. I remember that race. He was probably a heavy favorite. The effort on Belmont Day, though, in the Woody Stevens is what I'm going to show you. And that was impressive. Breaking well from the 3-post. He sits down third for most of the race. Then he hits the turn for home, swings out 3 wide, and digs in tough down the stretch to get the win. I think he's a speedy horse. I think he'll take to the Monmouth track pretty well. So without further ado, on to the main event. My boy, Tappet Trice, trained by none other than Todd Pletcher. He was my pick in the Derby, and then the Belmont didn't come through. But coming back and looking back at this Belmont race, we're going to show it now. It wasn't as poor of an effort as I thought. And I remember watching the race, and he looked positioned very nicely before the final turn for home. And then he moves up into prime spot to pounce. But somehow around that long, wide turn, Luis Saez, he kind of gets loose on him, and he's a really big horse. He's got a real big, gigantic behind on him if you watch him run. And maybe just Luis Saez couldn't keep him steadied. I don't know. But I won't speculate on that. But he does lose a little bit of ground around that turn. And then he kind of has to reinitiate his bid, hitting the straightaway. And then by then it was too late, because you see Arcangelo got that inside move, and he just sees the race from the inside. And then down home, he looks like he's coming in again. He drifts out a little bit before mounting his final bid to finish third, but he was gaining ground in the end. So I don't want to give up on him just yet. He's going to be in my exacta. I think that he can take Monmouth just fine. I think he should get a fair chance to close. So I'm definitely going to have him in my mix. And lastly, we have Mage. Gustavo Delgado's magical winner of the Kentucky Derby. I really liked him actually going back to that Florida Derby when he lost a close one to Forte. And he broke, we're showing you the Preakness now. He broke just fine in the Preakness, and he stayed at perfect stalking style of a trip, ran steady the whole way. And then they hit the stretch, and he just didn't fire down the stretch. So those kind of things happen. But he's basically now on his first ever layoff since he didn't race at 2 years old. He has 5 races as a 3-year-old, and they were all in a normal cycle. So I don't know what that means for him, but he's been breezing 6 furlongs all month, so he should be in very good shape. Here's a look at one of his workouts now, if you'd like to take a look at it. So I thought I'd throw that in there. But anyway, that's going to do it for the preview show. There will be lots more content coming out, especially once we get the official past performances and the post draw and all that good stuff. I'll have a lot more information to pass along. We'll get into some betting strategy and all that kind of good stuff. So until the next video, thank you for watching. See you soon.